Let's move! My fellow citizens, we are assailed on every side by the enormous meteor that looms over our heads, and by towering monstrosities termed weapons, like the one that made landfall outside Midgar. But I know that we will rise to every challenge and show heaven and earth that it is we who reign supreme.
You said weapons are guardians of the planet, right?
The planet sees us as another threat to her well-being, and rightfully so.
You call them planetary warriors, but I call them weapons of mass destruction.
Only one thing to do.
And they named him Ultima Weapon. Oh my god, we got Typhon. Vincent on the Chocobo. Wu Tai.
Weapons, hunting materia. Way overdue for a day off.
Once we've got a future
Is that?
to fight for,
Oh, we got the submarine.
nothing will stop
Wait, they're
us.
shooting Emerald Weapon with the submarine.
Ready? Aim! Fire!
We'll finish this together.
Crazy. So yeah, they did have a little bit more to show.
Final
Mostly the
Fantasy
same
VII
stuff, but
Revelation looks
I don't think there's a ton to take from this that we haven't already seen. Are they fighting on the Highwind here? Are there soldiers on the Highwind? What else would this be? That could be Junon Cannon, I guess. It looks so bright, though. It looks too bright to be, like, Midgar raid. So maybe, yeah, maybe it's stealing Highwind from Junon, like the Tifa section. The part where Hojo's taking over the cannon and you're going up there, it's going to be like dark and thunderstorming and like, you know, this is probably them stealing the Highwind in the first place. We got crazy, insane Genova here. I mean, this has got to be like Genova Death, but it looks... This doesn't even look like... Well, it could be. It doesn't look like Whirlwind Maze. It looks like Crater, but maybe you go deeper into the Crater to fight her now instead of it being on top. And then this is interesting. So Rufus is talking about fighting the weapons while Diamond Weapon is like outside. So this kind of gives me the vibe that, I mean, I already had the vibe that the entire game was going to be more about the weapons. So instead of it being like Whirlwind Maze and then Tifa section and then Sid section and then back to Cloud and then City, and then there's like a very small section where Diamond attacks and you just go fight Diamond and that's it. Instead, the weapons are going to be spread out throughout the entire story. So the entire game is going to be like the attack of the weapons. And as you're doing everything, the weapons are going to be included and all that. And I'm wondering if Diamond Weapon is just slowly heading towards Midgar for like a good chunk of the game. Because the way he talks here makes it sound like the party and Shinra are both trying to fight weapons. Meanwhile, Diamond Weapon is like heading towards Midgar.
Side by the enormous meteor that looms over our heads, and by towering monstrosities termed weapons, like the one that made landfall outside Midgar.
Said it made landfall outside Midgar. So somehow Diamond Weapon is outside Midgar, but not attacking yet. So I don't know if he's just chilling like he does in the base game or what, but
I know that we will rise
not base game, original game. You know what I
to
mean?
every challenge and and show heaven and earth that it is we who reign supreme.
But yeah, I love this idea of we get to see more of Shinra attempting to fight the weapons. So the whole theme of that section of the game is like Shinra is incompetent against the planet. So they've just been taking and taking and taking from the planet. But then when the planet fights back, they're like incompetent to actually defend themselves against it. So sure, they have a slight victory against Sapphire, but you know, their days are numbered kind of thing. Like as soon as the planet starts fighting back, their days are numbered. The planet's going to get its revenge over like what Shinra has done for all these years. But normally all we really see is the Shinra guards trying to fight Sapphire. They fail. And then the cannon shoots Sapphire. And then they win somewhat. And then Diamond Weapon comes and just blows up Midgar, and that's kind of it. So it's cool that we get to see more of Shinra trying to fight all the weapons and kind of getting like destroyed by the weapons. I just think that's cool. And it fits into the theme that they were trying to. Yeah, it's not just, oh, it'd be cool if we could see weapons blow up more Shinra soldiers. Like it's still fitting with the theme of what the original was going for. I wanted to see what this was. This looks like Whirlwind Maze, I guess. Gotta be, right?
You said weapons are guardians of the planet, right?
The planet sees us as another threat to her well-being, and rightfully so.
You call them
Now this is crazy. Like, I guess Ruby and Emerald are just going to be part of the game now, which I think is fine. I mean, I'm wondering what people's opinions are of this, actually. Whether or not they're kind of bummed that Ruby and Emerald aren't post-game bosses, or if they're excited that Ruby and Emerald are like part of the real game now. I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. I think it's probably cooler because I guess here's my two takes on it. So in one column, I would say we always have the crazy post game. We always have like Chadley sim battles, or like some crazy Gilgamesh rematch, or Sephiroth sim battle. Right? Like we can always come up with crazy stuff in sim to do as post game. But if we put Emerald and Ruby in that category, then all they are is fights. We're just going to load into the sim and there they are, and we just have to fight them. Whereas here we get to see them move around the planet, interact with the characters, interact with Shinra. So that's kind of cool. The other thing too is because they're basing the entire game on the weapons, like it seems like the entire thing of the game, or the driving force of the game, is the weapons. Instead of it just being one little part of the story, it's like the whole game is going to be, oh no, Ultima weapons attacking. Oh no, Emerald weapons attacking. Oh no, the little weapons are attacking. Oh, Diamond weapons attacking. Like it's going to be all built around the weapons and the planet against Shinra against us, and kind of the triple triad of everyone fighting each other. I want Ruby and Emerald there. Like I think that they were like, okay, we're going to have the weapons versus Shinra versus the party. You know, why not use Emerald and Ruby? We have these two great, awesome weapons that are already designed and cool and everyone loves. Like, why not use them? It would be a shame if we were just fighting nameless weapons the whole game and then Ruby and Emerald were just stuck in a sim, you know? So I get that. I think that's why it makes sense to me. It's kind of a shame, but maybe, you know, in the best case scenario, we get to fight Emerald and Ruby during the game as regular bosses, and then we get a sim version of them that's like a super version. Then we'd get both, you know.
planetary warriors. But I call them weapons.
Emerald looks really neat. It looks like he only has the 2 eyes, but maybe it's just not open. Also, is this is Ultima. Is he underwater? They only show him for like a second. It looks like it's underwater. But no, because there's... Well, maybe that's underwater reactor. It's hard to tell. This looks like the top of a cavern, so I think it's underwater. And later they show him like shooting missiles at him in the sub. So yeah, it's definitely got to be underwater.
Mass destruction.
So yeah, Ultima weapon instead of ultimate weapon. That's interesting.
Only one thing to do. We fight.
This is... What is this enemy? What is this enemy?
Only one thing to do.
Is that the Jabberwocky? Did they take my idea? They make a Jabberwocky?
Only one thing to do. We fight.
I don't know, but this is definitely Cosmo area, but it's like flooded with water. Interesting. Yeah, so this is also interesting. Getting Typhoon or Typin or Typhon or whatever his name is good. I'm sure it'll be Typhoon. But he looks exactly like he looks in the original. All of the summons, they kind of took what they looked like in the original and remixed it slightly. He looks exactly like he looks like in the original. I mean, it's completely the same. Also, I love this little pose he does. Why does he do that little pose? The sky is really blue for being meteor fall. Like, you see the meteor back there, but the sky is so blue and pretty. I guess they didn't want the whole game to look, you know, dark and spooky the whole time, so they kind of had to make it that way. But maybe later in the game it darkens, yeah. Man, look at Wutai. They haven't really shown Wutai as much as I thought they would, so I'm kind of wondering if Wutai is going to be as big of a deal as we thought. We thought Wutai was going to be like half the game, because they've been pushing it for 2 games now, and DLC. You know, Wutai is going to be like one of the biggest story points. It has to be. But they haven't really showed it that much, so I wonder if it's really just going to be one little part.
Taking down weapons, hunting
What is this? This is in the airship with the huge materia. Like, we've collected the huge materia and we're in the airship. That's so cool.
materia. Way overdue for a day off.
Okay, so what is this? Like, I guess this is the underwater reactor, but it looks like a whole city. Why are there so many buildings? Did they build Rapture down here? Like, what happened? This is like huge.
Once we've got a future,
And then it looks like Emerald is attacking, so there's definitely going to be a... I mean, it's looking like we're going to go to Cosmo or Gold Saucer, and Ruby's going to be like attacking, and then we have to save them from Ruby, and then we're going to go to the underwater reactor, and Emerald's going to attack, and we have to fight them off the reactor. So it looks like each... And then probably Ultima will attack Mediel. So it looks like each weapon is going to attack a certain area, and then we have to like go rescue them.
Nothing will stop us.
Ready?
We also got Sid using the high wind, just like he would with his ultimate limit break, but now he's just fighting a weapon with it.
We'll finish this together.
And that's it. So pretty cool. I mean, they're still doing their best to not show too much, but it is very obvious now that the weapons are a massive part of the game, and I think will be the driving force of the story. It'll be, oh, Ultima Weapon is attacking Mediel, we got to go stop him. And then, oh, Emerald Weapon's attacking the underwater reactor, we got to go stop him. And Ruby's attacking the Gold Saucer, we got to go stop. Like, it feels like that's going to be how the game plays out. Which I think is fine. I think it's cool. It makes sense. Like I said, it fits within the themes of the original game. It's one thing if they're just like, oh, we have these really big monsters and it'll make a big epic battle, but Shinra attempting to fight the weapons and failing, and then us coming through and saving the day and fighting them is very along with the themes of the original game and doesn't, in my eyes, doesn't like ruin anything or overstep anything from the original. It's just, again, something that they would have loved to do in the original, but just didn't have the ability to. And that's how most of the stuff in the remake trilogy feels. Obviously, there's some stuff where it feels like they've overstepped or have done something for the sake of it being epic and awesome instead of trying to be as close to the original as possible. But many of the things they do feels like, yeah, they would have loved to have the weapons, especially Diamond Weapon, be more of the story in the original, but they just didn't have the ability to do that. They had to have the fight with them and then move on and have just cutscene, fight, cutscene, and that was the Diamond Weapon part because that's all they had the budget to do. Surely they would have had Diamond Weapon do more if they could have. So, yeah, it looks awesome. Feels like they're still in line with the game. There's not a single whisper in any of the trailers so far. That's dope. all my whisper haters out there. Haven't seen one yet. It does feel like they're just gonna to wrap things up in a way that feels like a big finale and feels like close to what the original's finale was. But there are still some questions. You know, how big is Wu-Tai going to be? Because we've been hyping that up for 3 games now. You know, what are we going to actually get a good payoff in Wu-Tai with Yuffie and like her whole backstory and DLC and stuff? And then also like the Wu-Tai war that they've been building up and the scenes with Rufus and what's his name and the cloak. Is all that going to be paid off? Or are they just going to kind of forget about all that because they have to do all this weapon stuff? And instead it's just going to be like her and the pagoda and that's it. Because that would be a shame. That would be a shame if we had all that build up and then they just kind of focused more on this. We also have stuff like a lot of characters that have been forgotten about. Are we going to have Corneo doing his thing in Wu-Tai? Are we going to have Leslie at all doing anything? Is he going to even be in the game? What's Johnny going to be up to? Like, I'm sure Johnny will be there for comic relief, but like, will he actually have some kind of finale? Then you have like the live stream scene, because we've already seen a little bit of the live stream scene. So are we going to get a full blown live stream scene with the actual real climax of the game? Or are they going to spin it and we're not going to have really a live stream scene? And instead Cloud's just going to be there the whole time. And then there's going to be some thing at the finale. You know, that's probably the thing I'm looking forward to the most. Do we have the classic live stream scene with we lose Cloud, we have to do some stuff without him, and then Tifa goes into his subconscious, they learn the truth, we have the climax of the game, the true climax of the game with Cloud taking off the helmet, we get to understand, everyone that has only played the trilogy and hasn't played the original gets at least a glimpse into what the original game's climax was and like the reveal of Cloud's story. Or are they just going to throw all that out the window and instead it's going to be going around, goofing off, killing weapons, having fun, crazy Shinra things, and then somewhere near the end of the game, Sephiroth's going to like take over Cloud and mess him up, and then Tifa's going to have to save him, and then like the reveal happens there. I could see it being either one. I could see it working both ways, but me personally, I think we should at least try to hit the original climax of the game in a way that original fans can look at it and be like, there it is. That's the scene that I grew up with. And new people to the series can be like, wow, I wonder how amazing this is in the original, you know. But I think it could go either way. Yeah, someone said Cloud was like missing at some point, so who knows. But yeah. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and be like it has to be one way or the other. I think it could work both ways. And especially with the way they've slowly built up this thing within Cloud, it definitely builds up to a really cool potential payoff if they do it right. They just have to do it right. So we'll see. But yeah, What else? Ancient forest. Is there going to be an ancient forest? I mean, this is just small things, but interesting nonetheless. Curious if there's going to be underwater actual exploration, because the only underwater we saw was a cutscene of fighting Emerald Weapon. So obviously, a big selling point of the game is that you can basically just fly anywhere with the high wind and drop in anywhere Fortnite style on any battlefield, which is sick and awesome and cool and is way more important. But will there be underwater? Will we be able to swim around underwater? Or will that just be a little mini game? What else? We haven't seen like the train or anything yet, but we saw the huge materia, so it feels like the whole game is going to be the huge materia quest. It's going to be like just going around fighting weapons, getting huge materia. It sounds like from Rebirth, it sounds like the huge materia we get from the weapons. So like Fort Condor and the rocket, or the rocket and the train is all going to be maybe there, but it's not going to be huge materia. That's going to be its own thing. And then the huge materia is going to come from us fighting Emerald Weapon, Ruby Weapon, Ultima Weapon, and then we'll collect all the huge materia. So that seems like what they're going with, which I said from the beginning is awesome. I love that. If anyone is complaining that like, oh, we don't get to do the train mission and get the huge materia that way, why does it have to be just like that? Like, you know what I mean? That's just semantics. Like, it's way more fun to fight Ultima Weapon and get a huge materia from fighting Ultima Weapon than doing the train mission, and then like the little kid just gives you the huge materia. Like, well, the little kid doesn't, but you know what I mean? The civilians just give you the huge materia. Or the rocket thing is Sid's story, but as we're doing Sid's story, we just so happen to get a huge materia as well. Like, no. You can have the train mission where Barrett gets his chance to finally make amends. You can have Sid's section with the rocket where Sid finally gets to go to space. And you can have big, cool weapon battles where we get the huge materia. We get the best of both worlds doing it that way, you know. Now, having said that, we have not seen the rocket and we have not seen the train. And I'll tell you this, they better be there, because train mission is cool, but Barrett finally making amends to the people of Coral is incredibly important to his story, especially given that they've told that story within the Temple of the Ancients. We have the flashback. So we need to have that. Also, the rocket scene. We obviously need to have the rocket scene because it's the climax of Sid's story. So, like, those two things still need to exist, but they don't have to be the huge materia quest. They can be their own thing where we get to see a nice little bow to their stories. And I wonder if we're going to get a bow to everybody's story, because do we have the time to do all that, you know? Red 13's story, for the most part, is already wrapped up in the original game at this point. We get the moment where we get to go back to Cosmo Canyon and see Bugenhagen one last time, but that's actually optional. You don't have to do that to finish the game. But maybe they create a little scenario where we go back to Cosmo Canyon and see Bugenhagen one last time, and that can be like Red 13's finale. We can have, obviously, the rocket for Sid. We can have the train for Barrett. We could have some kind of Lucretia portion for Vincent. That's actually mandatory instead of optional. Obviously, Wutai is going to be Yuffie's final finale. And then Tifa and Cloud, their finale can be intertwined with the actual finale of the game if we have some kind of live stream scene or something at the end of the game where they finally find out the truth behind Cloud and the truth behind Tifa. So that's all fine. Kate Sith, I don't know. We have some kind of reveal during the Midgar raid that it's actually Reeve, and then there's like some like special moment. I mean, we have a pretty good chance to have everyone have a great finale for each character. I just hope that each one gets their own equal moment. And that's something that could be better in this game than the original, because the original doesn't really do a great job of giving everyone an equal finale. Red 13, You go to Cosmo Canyon for the first time, he learns about his father, and then that's it for the whole rest of the game. There's an optional scene with Bugenhagen, and that's it. He is just chilling in the party for the whole rest of the game. Barrett gets a very, like, the thing about Barrett is he should have a finale to his story in Coral, but he doesn't even have to be in the party. You could do the train scene without Barrett, and there's nothing there. And if you do it with Barrett, there's still like barely anything there. So yeah, I think that this game has a chance to really have an awesome finale for each character. They've set them up perfectly. They just have to make sure that each character gets their own moment, gets their own little section of the game where we get to do something special with them and get a little closure and finale. And then when we're in the high wind at the end of the game and Cloud says, I want you all to go out and figure out what you're fighting for and only come back if you find it, we can have a little flashback to everyone's finale, and you can like remember, they can remember why they're fighting, and it'll be like perfect. So then it can kind of parallel the scene in the temple where they all have their flashbacks. They could even do, I mean, think about it. It writes itself, but the game could have Rocket Town finale with Sid, Coral finale with Barrett, Wutai finale with Yuffie, Lucretia's Cave finale with Vincent, do all these things, and then in the high wind, when Cloud gives his final speech, they could combine the finale we saw in this game with the flashbacks we saw in Rebirth and make one final scene with each character and what they've been through and what they're fighting for. And then at that point, it's just Cloud and Tifa all the way to the finale. So, but we'll see. We'll see how they do it. Either way, the game itself is looking freaking fun. They didn't show much gameplay, but like they really only showed Tifa doing the Black Mage thing, which they already showed previously. Okay, we got a little bit of Cloud jumping around here. What class is he in here? Is this like Dark Knight or something? He's got like a Cecil / Kane looking thing going on. Is that just Warrior? I mean, he looks like he's doing his regular attacks that we've seen a million times.
Fight.
And then Tifa's doing her... I mean, the attacks look similar, even when they're in their other things. You know what I mean? Like, she's in Black Mage attire, but she's still doing punches, so it's more about the stats, I think. But then she does a summon, so, like, that makes sense. Yeah. I think it might change, like, your triangle move or something, but for the most part, it's more about the stats. I was sad that you couldn't, like, mix and match, because when they first showed the original trailer, I thought it was going to be, like, dress spheres, where they're a separate thing. So you have, like, Black Mage, White Mage, Warrior, Dragoon, Thief, and then you just equip those to characters. So you could have Cloud Thief, Tifa Red Mage, yada yada. But that's not all how it works. It's just each character has 3 of them. So you just, do you want Cloud to be Warrior, Blue Mage, or Tank? And then do you want Tifa to be Monk, Black Mage, or White Mage, or whatever? And then you just pick. And so it is still cool that we get an extra layer of changing up the party, but depending on how they do it, I am still of the opinion that for the most part, people are just going to pick their favorite and stick with it, you know? I don't see too much reason, especially if they have, like, if you level them up or they have skill trees or whatever. I don't think they will, but if there was any reason to stick to one, people will probably just stick to one. But maybe, I mean, maybe you have a fight where you're like, oh, Cloud keeps dying. Let's switch him over to the tank class. But for the most part, if you like attacking with Cloud, you'll probably just stick with Warrior. And if you like using magic with Tifa, you might just stick with Black Mage. And I don't see like too much reason to switch. But I don't know. I don't know how it connects to everything else. You know, it maybe the materia kind of connects with it. But either way, I'm glad they're adding something, because I was worried that this game would be Rebirth 2.0. And I think for me, who hasn't played Rebirth since it came out, that'll be fine. But for people that played Rebirth leading up to, well, a lot of people are playing Rebirth now in preparation for this. And I'm afraid going straight from 200 hours of Rebirth into this, you're going to be like done with the battle system if it's not really different. And from everything we've seen, it looks very similar to Rebirth. So it just needs something to make it more different other than just menus. I mean, Remake and Rebirth are so different. But this just looks like Rebirth, but you can do some extra menus to make things a little more unique. But the actual buttons you're pressing in fights right now looks like Rebirth. So I'm just afraid if you just played Rebirth and you're going into this, it might feel too samey. There's also the question that many people always have about this stuff. Where do we start? Like, are we starting with Cloud Buster Sword, Barrett Machine Gun, and just pretending like Rebirth didn't happen? Are we starting with like basic materia? How exactly does the game start with us in Whirlwind Maze, and like a whirlwind comes by and takes all our materia or something? Like, how exactly are they going to do it? With how much this game seems to be based on exploration, I really hope they just give us nothing. Just start us with absolutely nothing. Because 99% of this game is going to be exploration and finding stuff and getting stuff. I want to get as much stuff as I can in the game. I don't want to be given stuff at the start when we're supposed to be exploring. Yeah, maybe Yuffie just steals our materia right away. We still don't have any answer as to whether or not the game starts in Whirlwind Maze or not. Is Whirlwind Maze later? I mean, there's still a chance that the game actually starts off with Junon section, and then we leave, get the high wind, and the whole rest of the game is just exploring the world. And then Whirlwind Maze is actually on the way to like Final Crater, and we actually only ever go to the crater once instead of twice. That's still a possibility. I don't think it'll be that way, but I don't know. It's still a possibility. We still don't know. I think the best way to do it would be start with Whirlwind Maze, teach us how to play the game, have it be a super linear thing all the way up Icicle Inn, Great Glacier, Whirlwind Maze. Then we meet Sephiroth, all that stuff happens, Junon escape, and then we get our big open world. But they might not want to make us wait that long to get to the open world part. Knowing, I mean, like, look at these trailers. Like, imagine you're somebody who isn't super well versed in Final Fantasy VII, and you're watching these trailers. All the trailers, all it is them jumping off the high wind. Big open world, jumping off the high wind, going anywhere they want. So imagine when the game starts, you're playing like 7 or 8 hours of linear gameplay. You know, people might be like, what the heck? So, I don't know. They could also do a weird thing where it starts with you on the world map, jumping around off the high wind, doing crazy stuff. And then every once in a while, Barrett's like, so remind me what happened back in after the Capitol. And then there's like a flashback, and then you play a little bit of the Whirlwind Maze. and then back to fighting weapons, jumping off buildings, doing goofy stuff, going to Wutai, and then at some point Barrett's like, so what happened after that? And then you play another section of the flashback, and then by the time you get to like Midgar Raid, Cloud has told the entire story of Whirlwind Maze, and then you do Midgar Raid, and then you go to the real crater. They could do that. I wouldn't really like that, but that would be a solution if they wanted to get people into the open world right away, but also wanted to do the linear Whirlwind Maze part. So, I don't know, we'll see. There's also the question of when do we do Rocket Town, because we didn't get to do Rocket Town 1.0 in Rebirth. So we have to go to Rocket Town, meet Shara, learn about the rocket, have Rufus come up and be like, screw you to Sid, have Sid officially join the party, and then we have to have a whole section of the game, and then we have to go back and do the actual rocket thing. So we got to have both somewhere. And there's got to be some kind of gap in between. I think we could start in Rocket Town. I just don't know how we get to Whirlwind Maze if we start in Rocket Town. They have a lot of options, a lot of locations. And honestly, I said this before, and I'll say it again. There's not many ways they can do it wrong, because the organization of events that happen in Disc 2 aren't that important. What's really important is that they all happen at some point, but the actual order in which they happen isn't that important. We got to have Rocket Town 1.0, and then there has to be a little gap, and then there has to be Rocket Town Revisit. We got to have Whirlwind Maze in there at some point before the final confrontation, unless they somehow find a way to combine them. But all of the huge materia quest, all of the weapons, the Midgar raid, all that stuff, it doesn't necessarily matter that much, the organization of it. And like Wutai in the original, you can go and do whenever before Diamond, so doesn't matter when we do Wutai. Doesn't matter when we do Lucretia, if that even is a thing. So yeah, doesn't matter when we do the train mission. Doesn't matter when we do Fort Condor, if we even do it. So, like, Midgar Raid should be near the end of the game, so we can have our finale with Hojo. Whirlwind Maze hopefully is near the beginning, so we get time to watch Sephiroth grow and be powerful and be afraid of him and whatnot. But yeah, like, it just doesn't really matter that much. If we wanted to start the game up with the train sequence, like, that doesn't ruin anything. That would be fine. That would be a cool start to the game. So, yeah. It doesn't really matter. If we end up doing the live stream scene later, then it doesn't really matter when Ultima attacks Medial either. So, yeah. I'm going in with an open mind. I'm not gonna really care about what happens. When the game is over, I might look back and be like, maybe they should have done this before that. But like, as I'm playing it, I'm not gonna be like, well, technically the train mission is supposed to be before the rocket. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter. So, and I kind of, the more I think about it, the more I'm really warming up to the idea of having Ruby and Emerald be part of the story. Especially for the Japanese audience, you know, that didn't even get it in the original game until the re-release. But yeah, I think that'll be really cool. And they'll be sufficiently scary to anyone that grew up with the game. It's going to be scary to take them on. They're going to feel like very imposing. I do kind of hope we get underwater exploration. Something about it I just always loved. I don't think we'll be able to have the same vibe as the original. I don't think anything will ever beat the vibe of exploring underwater in the original. The music being so like creepy but also calming. Emerald Weapon just appearing somewhere and you don't know where he is and you're afraid of running into him, and the key being like very mysterious, and the Galnica being mysterious and having like really good stuff in it. and just make you like once you find the Galnica, it's like, man, I really want to explore the whole ocean because if this is down here, what else is down here? But then you're trying to avoid Emerald, and it's just something cool about it. I've always really loved the underwater exploration, and I don't think we'll either not have it here or it's not really going to be the same, but it would be cool if we could at least have some exploration underwater and have some kind of thing going on.